walking away. Was it hard when you found yourself outside? Were you scared? Start all over. Did you always know you would leave me behind? Do you remember when all we had was us? I thought that would always be enough. But were we just two kids with nothing else to do? A little money in our pockets and a hurry to say I love you. Swear the days last forever, never thinking about the end. As long as we were together, we could make it through anything. Now I gotta see you all through town, standing next to him. Does he know all your secrets? Could he tell you all your dreams? I still remember when all we had was us. I thought that would always be enough. But were we just two kids with nothing else to do? A little money in our pockets and a hurry to say I love you. Swear the days last forever, never thinking about the end. As long as we were together, we could make it through anything. But I knew my heart's in trouble with you. You were always out the door. We set a spark in motion, could have been a flame. Light up the skyline, watch it fall away. Yeah, it could have been the real thing. Could have been the real thing. And now we got ghosts to remind us both how we came so close. But I love the feeling you love leaving. I guess that we were just two kids with nothing else to do. A little money in our pockets and a hurry to say I love you. Swear the days last forever, never thinking about the end. As long as we were together, we could make it through anything. But were we just two kids with nothing else to do? A little money in our pockets and a hurry to say I love you. Swore the days last forever, never thought about the end. As long as we were together, we could make it through anything. But I knew my heart's in trouble with you. You were always out the door. We set a spark in motion, could have been a flame. Light up the skyline, watch it fall away. Yeah, it could have been the real thing.
You wanna exceeded. To continue surfing, please call now and upgrade your package.
You know, we joke a lot, but the sad truth is you could hear this message very soon. Once again, your freedom is at risk. Big internet ISPs and the government are trying to take away more of your rights than usual. But you can do something about it.
That's right. It's super easy to do. Both of us went to battleforthenet.com today, and we made our voices heard. Battleforthenet.com has everything you need to know about the net neutrality movement, and it has everything.
We're sorry. Your internet provider has deemed this content unsuitable for viewing in your area.
Go to battleforthenet.com.
Please make your voice heard. Make a difference.
You are receiving transmission the Midnight Spookhouse at 13th Street.
Evening. My name is Alistor Expiravit. And for the last 86 years, I've been the owner of this mansion. Within these walls, much has transpired. It's a very old house, after all. My great-great-grandmother, Theodosia, was burned alive for murder. Her son, Mortimer, my grandfather, was a wealthy but greedy man who took full advantage of those who weren't as well off. They say their bodies still beneath the floors of this old place, but I wouldn't know anything about that. Some call them murderers, witches, and even devils. I call them family. As I've veiled, I've come to realize that I must pass this on to those next in line. Come join the newest owners of my abode as they journey through these winding hallways to try and unlock the secrets of the evil within man. The ones from the other side. The visitors from the darkness. Welcome.
Welcome to the Midnight Spook House. For tonight's show, we're in the sitting parlor where we'll be discussing science versus the other side. It's he said, she said, the voices that speak for both sides and what agendas they appear to have. What do we mean by the other side? Well, that's what you keep coming back for, isn't it? After that, what happens if robots take over? Fun news, letters, and more. Let's get spooky.
Mass UFO sighting.
This creature is said to prowl the swamps.
Everything is alive.
Becomes more transparent and then finally disappears.
They're a lot closer than we've been thinking. And another good Friday to everyone out there. We're here again, and I guess you heard Megan is with us, so that's kind of neat. Hello, Megan.
Hello, Dale.
See, she introduced me. That works. Now, Ryan is with us as well. How are you doing, Ryan?
Good evening.
Ooh,
I'm
I
good.
like that. He said good evening. That sounded evil. I like it. Yes, so, as she said, we're in the sitting parlor. I've never been in one of those before, so this is neato.
It's fancy.
It is fancy. Tell us about it, Ryan. What's up with the sitting parlor? What's it look like on the inside?
It looks like there were people sitting in here, and then they spontaneously combusted,
Oh, no.
and their
Jinx.
ash has covered the walls.
Apparently, it's a place where people sit. I said sit for the record.
I guess this is where you would sit and smoke a pipe and chew the shit, I guess.
I'm just
Have
wondering
some brandy.
now. Yeah, have some brandy, glass of gin. I'm just wondering now. When Sean Connery says shit, does it sound like shit?
Of course it does.
I'll have a shit in your parlor. All right. It starts early. I was like this before the show, I promise. I don't turn it on and off. It's just who I am. Ryan Blevins says, evening spooksters in chat. So everybody say hello to Ryan. Hello, Ryan. All right, so we got a lot of news. Ryan, get to it. Tell us some news.
Well, I'm glad you're letting me go first because mine is a little disappointing.
Oh,
no.
I thought I had something gold, but turns out, well, I'll tell you about it.
You are becoming that guy.
Well, I'm not debunking any kind of popular conspiracies or anything,
That's
thankfully.
good,
But
yeah.
so what happened was I caught word on a local police scanner site for our area that there was some mysterious lights in the sky. So apparently the call came in. I'm not going to say where specifically. Not sure if anybody wants attention drawn to themselves or anything.
I'd imagine
But
not.
over some farmland, there was a disc, it was described, of rotating lights.
Was
That
it a
sounds
drone?
nifty. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, wow, this is really cool. This is a local UFO sighting.
It
It's been a
was.
while since we've had one officially reported to the police.
Mm-hmm.
But sadly, someone came forward, and it was them playing with their drone.
Boo.
So
Those blasted
Yeah.
drones.
Yep.
it's just my luck. I got really excited, and
Wah,
I let
wah,
us-
wah.
Mm-hmm.
but that's another lesson to be told, I guess. When you're looking at footage, and because there's a lot of footage popping up on YouTube these days of UFOs that I think are pretty much drones.
Yeah, I
just
think
like
so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
The
Between-
drones are really cool.
between
nothing against-
drones and Photoshop, it's hurting the field, you know?
It is. Nothing against drones. I mean, they're really cool. They're a lot of fun. But if you're intentionally, like I don't know what the intention was for making it appear to be like a glowing disc, or rotating lights. What they said,
Or maybe
But-
you know exactly the intention. I hope not, but
Yeah. I'm gonna spook some people, with my fake UFO.
right.
That's exactly what the intention was.
I hope not, but
That's really disappointing. And like you said, that hurts what we do.
it does.
know? Because now, if anybody comes up with something interesting, you've got to question, okay,
Was
so
that a
there's video
drone?
footage. Is it wobbly? How big is it? Or is there things to reference size against, which, you should be doing anyway.
Those are
You're-
the same questions I ask about elephants.
Is it wobbly?
Is it wobbly? Is there things? I was
Am
just
I
thinking as you were
responsible?
talking, you might be talking about an elephant.
Could be.
If somebody hopped in just now and didn't hear the first part. Any which way. I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm bad for that.
Thankfully, there are no elephants on the loose.
It's true.
So that-
Definitely not flying and spinning with lights in the sky, right?
right.
That's good.
So that's what I've got. So hopefully next week I'll have something better. than that. But-
We'll find out that the elephant doesn't
Yeah,
really
thanks,
exist
and-
because you're that guy this year.
all right. Thanks again, drones.
Yes, thank you, drones. Megan, would you like to go second?
Sure. So I have a piece about a mysterious space rock.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Is it the crispy chicken sandwich Return to Earth?
You know what?
Yeah,
It could
mystery.
be. We haven't talked about that
It's
in
true.
about 6
The
months
zinger.
The secret sauce has defended it against re-entry.
now.
That's it. No, this is actually the Hypatia stone. It was discovered in 1996 in southwest Egypt, and it is undoubtedly a unique specimen.
Indeed.
This
It's
sounds like a setup for an Indiana Jones movie.
Doesn't
it totally is.
Yeah.
So its origin has remained a topic of debate for years, with scientists confirming that it has not come from any known comet or meteorite, and it clearly did not originate on our own planet. This mysterious space rock contains micro mineral compounds found nowhere else in the solar system. So, a team of researchers from the University of Johannesburg have discovered minerals that seem to predate even the sun, as well as a perplexing lack of silicate matter within the stone's carbonaceous matrix, setting it apart from any other interplanetary matter that
has fallen to
that has fallen to Earth. I'm sorry, I can't read. So its matrix contains a high amount of very specific carbon compounds called polyaromatic hydrocarbons, or PAH, a major compound of interstellar dust, which existed even before our solar system was formed, said lead researcher Jan Kramers.
I would say Jan. It's just Jan.
Oh, it is Jan.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
You just made them
Johannesburg.
sound fancy and foreign all of a sudden. Jan Kramers.
Okay, so the stone has been found to contain aluminum in its pure metallic form, something that is barely ever found within our solar system. Unexpected forms of silicon carbide and silver iodine phosphide were also found, as well as a compound containing phosphorus and nickel, but no iron. So that's a whole lot of mumbo-jumbo about what it's made of.
It is, but
it challenges just about everything we know about planetary formation. When the Hypatia stone was first found to be extraterrestrial...
And it is, by term, extraterrestrial, folks.
Yeah, it was a sensation, but these latest results are opening up even bigger questions about its origin, said Dr. Marco Andrioli.
Indeed.
What do you think, Ryan?
I think that's really cool, especially now that we know more about what it's actually made of.
Yeah.
And that it's containing things that are, obviously known to us, but, like you were saying, you don't run into nickel or, aluminum in its natural state that often.
Right. And it's containing things that are completely foreign to us, things we don't even know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
So
doesn't that go to show that, it kind of goes with our topic tonight, how science it's man-made, and if we don't know about it, then scientifically we don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond our scope, so that's awesome. And hello, Dark Falls, my friend. It is so good to see you back, sir. Welcome.
All right.
Yeah, I'm excited. He's
Now
back. We got some space
show.
rocks. Now it's a show.
Yeah.
I've got something cool, too.
Well, let's hear it.
The Mars Curiosity rover has discovered some rather peculiar structures, and as with Megan's, nobody knows what they are.
Uh-oh.
Measuring mere... What's
Sweet
that?
jump.
Ever taken off any sweet jumps? Measuring mere millimeters
sorry
in
if
length. No, you're fine.
If I ever met somebody from the Jet Propulsion Lab, I would probably ask them that. Completely ruin that moment.
There's nothing wrong with it. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to go Napoleon on it.
Here's how we control the rover. Check it out. You ever taken it on a sweet jump?
This is how we test
They
it.
would have you quickly escorted out of the
You
building.
got like 5 feet of air that time. Measuring mere millimeters in length, these angular stick-like features were visible in the first batch of photographs taken this year from the rover's Mars Hand Lens Imager, MAHLI, instrument. They look remarkably similar to Ordovician trace fossils I've studied and photographed here on Earth. If not trace fossils, what other geological explanations will NASA come up with? Keen to get to the bottom of the mystery, the Curiosity team sent the rover back for a closer look. This site was so interesting that we backtracked to get where the rover was parked for this plan, said Curiosity team member Chris Edwards. In the work space in front of the rover, we had some very peculiar targets that warranted some additional interrogation. While at present it remains unclear whether or not the mystery structures really are fossil remnants or some ancient alien species. NASA scientists are currently not ready to rule out the possibility. If we see more of them, then we begin to say that this is an important process. Ah.
So what do these look like exactly?
They look like carvings in stone to me, but they say they're similar to other fossils that have been found. So
They definitely
Fossil
look
being-
peculiar.
Fossil being the most interesting word there.
that's what
You
I
know?
thought. Is it?
And if it is, the could be our confirmation of there have been life on Mars.
That's it.
That's amazingly significant.
Mm-hmm. Between that and the space rock that's come down, we're in pretty good shape right now for stuff to figure out.
We're finding out so many new things about Mars every day that
Mhm.
they've got, our sweet rover rolling around
Yep.
there.
It's sweet jumps.
I think within our lifetimes, we're going to find confirmation that, there was once life on Mars. And I'm a firm believer that Mars was very much like Earth at some point.
Well, on one of our first shows, we read the document from the CIA, and it certainly sounded legitimate to me.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, if you haven't heard that, go back, please, folks. It's I think it's titled Mars 1984, something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that one still blows my mind. People haven't said to us that one sets the bar, because I think Men in Black came after it and we started to pick up people as an audience. But I think if you go back, you see that one set a bar of its own as far as news.
Maybe we should just do a rereading of that document
Yeah.
again, just for kicks.
I agree.
'Cause it's so interesting.
I mean, I could probably read that document 1,000 times and still be blown away
It's
by
insane.
what it says. Yeah.
Darkfall says there were fossil bacteria trails found in rocks in Antarctica, purported to be from Mars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that takes together the fossil and the rocks. Full circle, baby.
Yeah.
Full circle. Rock
So
and
do you
fossils.
think the deal is sealed?
I do think the deal is sealed.
Well, I think, that they can't exactly just come out and be like, yo, we found this. It's
Right.
confirmed. It's like, there's a lot of confirmation that has to go in that. And of course they want to find, more samples. The more they find, the less likely it is, I guess, to be debunked, I guess. I don't know who's trying to NASA, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I think NASA wants to find it as much as we do. They just they have to be real about it. If there's no science,
you gotta be
they
realistic
can't
about
be realistic about it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Which, points us to our first topic as well.
it does. It does. Well, here's a cool one. I was gonna read it, but I feel like Megan's here. Let her read it.
No, go ahead.
This is one that has never interested me that much. Everybody's like, wow, that's so crazy. And I'm just like, I guess. I mean, it's not that I don't care. It's just, mysteries are fun, but this one, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those, we just don't know the facts, as opposed to, is there life out there? Something bigger comes from it. We solve this when it's over. Nobody cares anymore. It's like
Is
a
Paul
cryptid.
McCartney a body double?
This
Is that what?
we don't even need truth for that one. We all already know, don't we, Megan?
Wait, I missed what Ryan said. What?
Paul McCartney. That's all you need to hear.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. All right. So here, have this one, Megan. I'll let you have it.
Okay, so a hidden code may have finally lifted the lid on the mysterious hijacker known as DB Cooper.
You take that in, folks.
Yep, we figured him out.
Maybe.
So the infamous hijacking occurred in 1971 when a mysterious man who at the time went by the name Dan Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 to travel from Portland to Seattle. During the trip, Cooper called over one of the flight attendants and asked them to write out a note declaring that he had a bomb in his briefcase and that the plane was being hijacked. When the aircraft stopped at Tacoma International Airport, he allowed the passengers to leave in exchange for 4 parachutes and the sum of $20,000 in cash. I'm sorry, $200,000 in cash. I can't read tonight. Sorry, guys.
You're all right.
After the plane had taken off again, Cooper strapped the bag of money to himself, put on one of the parachutes, and jumped out somewhere between Seattle and Reno. No trace of him was ever found. Now, though, a team of around 40 former FBI agents, forensic scientists, and private investigators believe that they may have finally discovered Cooper's real identity. Their investigations uncovered 5 typed letters that Cooper had allegedly written and sent out to various newspapers following the hijacking. The letters had been held in the FBI archives for many years and were only made available following a Freedom of Information Act request. At the bottom of one of the letters, Cooper had written a mysterious sequence of numbers that experts now believe to be a reference to 3 covert military units which operated during the Vietnam War. As it turns out, one of the original suspects in the D.B. Cooper case was a Vietnam veteran who happens to have ties to all 3 of those units. Efforts are now underway to conclusively tie him to the case and solve the mystery once and for all.
That is awesome.
I think so.
Yeah. But it's a cryptid, man, you know? It's gonna become the tiger. And we're gonna be like, tigers are cool, but they're not spooky anymore.
I mean, he's still infamous for what he pulled off.
But wait, watch that infamy die. It will. Once they figure it out, they'll be like, oh, there's nothing mysterious about it anymore.
I don't think so, because nobody's still found his money.
Well, they might.
I doubt it.
You
I think
never
he
know.
spent it.
I don't care about the money, to be honest with you. It's the person that I care about, obviously, but any which way. I think it's cool. What do you guys think?
You never know. And that just goes to show you that eventually all things come back full circle, you know?
That's what I believe. I believe we're finding things out. What's awesome about it is that the more we find out and debunk, the more things we're finding that we absolutely can't comprehend.
Like the space rock.
Yeah, like space rocks and the other side of the moon and things.
Yeah.
There's a lot to figure out. There's awesome stuff to do, you know?
You know, as they say, the truth is stranger than fiction.
That's what they say, and I believe it. I do. If you've ever tried to write fiction, it's actually kind of hard because you take what you know to write most of the time. You're bending the truths instead of the truth being scary. You know it's fiction, so it takes away. That may sound a little corny, but you know what I mean.
Right.
I don't think they found his body, actually. Dark Falls. I've never heard of anybody find. Have you?
I don't think so. No, that's been an open-ended mystery for a long time.
I thought so. If they had found it, I think that they could have probably dug around what's on him and figured out a little more about where the money might be and things. I don't know. But, you know, I like these stories like that. It's just that one never really. I was like, so he took off with $200,000 and jumped out of a plane. It's mysterious, but I don't know. It never did it for me. It's
Did they ever
neat,
make a
though.
movie about that?
I'm sure. Did they not?
I mean, it sounds like a good, like if you're into, what was that Nicolas Cage movie?
The National Treasure movies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you could make something in the vein of that, you know? Like a heist movie, I guess, is what
Yeah.
There was a really good episode of Josh Gates' show, that, like, he just does random things, but he did one on D.B. Cooper, and they had some compelling evidence about where he jumped out of the plane, that it was different from what they had originally thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen a movie about it. It would be cool. I'd watch it totally.
Yeah.
Darkfall says it's kind of like Hoffa level weird. It is.
Yeah.
You know, when he started the Union, you knew that Hoffa was going to go missing. It's like JFK and things. They're conspiracy theories, but because you know why something happened. It's just we don't know where they are and exactly who did it. You know,
It's the lack of proof.
Yeah, Expedition Unknown. Yeah, we used to watch Destination Truth a lot, too. I love both, which are both his shows. So
He's great.
He is great. All right, well, Ryan, do you have any more news, or would you like to move to a commercial break and to our first topic?
Yeah, that's all I've got. So, yeah, let's take a small break, and when we come back, we'll jump into this science versus the other side.
Yeah,
So-
let's do that.
Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Hey Dale, have you ever wanted to meet a real-life Ghostbuster?
You mean like my favorite, Winston Zedmore?
That's right. This October, you could meet superstar Ernie Hudson in person at this year's Conapalooza, happening October 12th through the 14th at the Metaview Convention Center in Kingsport.
Kind of sounds too good to be true.
It isn't, and there'll be lots of other guests too. Collectibles to buy, video games to play, and tournaments to enter too.
What would you ask Ernie Hudson?
I'd ask him to do the Scream from Ghostbusters 2.
Ernie Hudson is amazing.
But now we can tell him that in person, and we can get him to sign our Winston action figure.
Where? When?
That's at Conapalooza. And again, that's October 12th through the 14th this year. For more information, visit Conapalooza.com.
Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever heard voices? Maybe you know someone who has. If you're afraid to share your story, there's not always an outlet, and sometimes it's scary. But don't worry about being judged. Come and hang out with us at Spookhouse Radio, and we'd love to hear your story. Write us an email or come hop in chat. We go live every Friday night at midnight, and we'd love to have you and your story. You're listening to Spook House Radio on Spreaker and MidnightSpookhouse.com. You sure are listening to Spook House Radio, guys. And gals. I shouldn't say guys. That just generalizes too much. Doesn't it?
Yes.
Wow, the room went dead on me there. I feel very awkward right now. Let's try to flush that. All right. So, by the way, I want to say, if you watched Oz, then you know Ernie Hudson as the most amazing warden in history. Warden Glenn. He was awesome. We've been on an Oz kick lately. Yeah. So. Yeah.
I've forgotten about that role.
Megan is taking a picture, and I just assumed she didn't. How about not posting it? Let me see it. Yeah, no, my hair is not even brushed right now. Like, I took it out of a braid, and it's looking bushy. Any which way, that's neither here nor there. All right,
There's
so
also a spider web on your head. I don't know if you've noticed it yet.
that's what it feels like. Stop taking selfies and let's do a show. How about that? All right, this is why it's easier for me to focus. Please. Let's just move on. How about it? All right, so tonight is science versus the other side. What exactly is the other side, and what does science have to say about it? That is the question, isn't it? After all. All right, let me set this up a little bit. We're not talking religion exactly. We're talking the other side in a broader sense. You know, like, suppose it's fairies, suppose it's ghosts. Tonight isn't the fairy show we've been promising. Ryan and I did talk about that, and it will be coming up soon, but just imagine all those things that you don't know. Those are the other side. I guess we are probably, talking more spiritual, I suppose. The spirit things, not the aliens so much.
I think it can encapsulate that, too.
Sure, it could.
We'll get to that more in a moment.
All right, so science is defined as the state of knowing, knowledge as distinguished from ignorance or misunderstanding. That's kind of the bare minimum. Now, knowledge or a system of knowledge covering general truths or the operation of laws as obtained and tested through method. Such knowledge or such a system of knowledge concerned with the physical world and its phenomena. So, physical world, the things we can test, that's what you should take from that. Now, the other side, I guess it's where the demons and the angels and the ghosts and all that stuff of lie. So, first question on it. Do they conflict? And do they absolutely have to? We'll call that one question because, I think we're going to answer the second one within the first one. Do they conflict? And do they absolutely have to? Must Stephen Hawking, must he absolutely say something isn't? And a priest say something is? Can they not meet somewhere in the middle? What do you think, Ryan?
I think that it discredits both sides to not find a middle ground to that. Both to say that something absolutely is, we know for certain, absolutely. And, especially for the scientific community to say, no, that's absolutely not real.
Right.
There's no chance. There are too many things that we do not know. And what's funny is that science acknowledges that we don't know. Dark matter or black energy, whatever you want to call it, the dark space of the universe, they acknowledge that, something's going on there, but we don't know what.
Right. Or even if what we're talking about is within that dark matter, whatever it is could be through the black hole. It could be in another dimension. Like, it's so hard to say. But I think it's funny that you make an interesting point that dark matter is regarded, yet a spirit world is not. But in a scientific sense, you can understand it. You can't touch it, therefore you can't do a lot about it. Dark matter is at least present somehow. Everything where there's nothing, it's there. But, I mean, it's not like we can put it in a tube and test it. But they can, you know what I mean? So, like, there's something to test almost, whereas with spirits, what are you going to do? You can't get them to show up on demand you have no form of testing. So I can understand how technically a scientist might feel that way, but I can't understand how they would rule it out when they have no evidence against it, which is a huge thing for science.
Right, exactly. But to the point, on dark matter again, all of that at this point in time is still theory.
Mm-hmm. It is.
The only thing they have to go on are, observations they've made in space, but they can't say for certain at this time what exactly they have observed, or what is the dark space that we're seeing.
Right.
Is it something more than the absence of light?
Mm-hmm. Right. You can't just grab a handful and test it.
Right.
It appears to be the absence of anything, but that doesn't make sense in a physics form at all. Yeah, it's everything has to be something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything we don't understand can be limitless. It can be infinite. And I think that's where science goes so wrong. And that's where my qualm with science is. I have qualms with religious groups and science alike. So don't take me as judging one and blindly accepting the other. I'm very open to everything as far as that stuff goes.
Exactly.
I just think, All right, so let's do this. Let me set this up with, there's a scientist who says he can prove there is absolutely, without question, no afterlife. Megan, would you like to read it?
Okay, sure.
Just right there. Just read what he says in quotations. Be good enough.
Okay, so he claims that some form of consciousness persists after our bodies die, and decay into their consistent atoms face one huge, insuperable...
He doesn't claim that. He's saying claims that do that.
Okay, yeah.
They face one huge, insuperable obstacle. Now, what is it? Right there.
The laws of physics.
We're struggling tonight, aren't we?
Yes. The laws of physics underlying everyday life are completely understood, and there's no way within those laws to allow for the information stored in our brains to persist after we die.
Except that's not true at all.
Right.
He is saying, he is one of those, like I was just saying, basically, strictly 100%, I believe science and absolutely nothing else. So nothing else is real. Dark matter to him clearly couldn't exist. It has to be something to him, I think, is what he's basically saying. Physically. And that's just insane to me. You can't touch love. You can't touch happiness.
Nope.
So,
but they can measure that in your brain with the...
But you can't touch it.
No, you can't touch it.
You can't physically touch that. For the record, I'm just saying, and I'm not even saying I disagree. I do. But that wasn't what I was getting at.
Right.
I think that it's very close-minded, and I think that if you say science is only what we know now, you're completely ignorant and shouldn't be a scientist in the first place. I understand not being able to ask a ghost questions, but you have to be open to it as a scientist, or you're not worth your grain, or you're not. You're just not. Go ahead, Ryan. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it's, I think it's dangerous as a scientist for your credibility to just outright close the door on anything, really.
Right.
For a time there, in our distant past, there was, they're talking about, that we can't detect where the spirit is. If we have a soul or a spirit, we can't detect where that is.
Right.
And, I'm no physicist. I'm not going to ever claim to be or anything. So, this might sound ignorant, but there was a time in our history when, in the development of the telephone and things like that, where, it was thought that data could only travel through wires. There was a time before the radio.
Absolutely. Darkfall says they thought a lot of things about physics before Einstein. It's true. And there are things like, I believe, string theory that Einstein couldn't come to terms with. Sometimes you got to think maybe, and I saw this on Big Bang last night. It's the reason I brought it up. But sometimes you have to think they're going on a wild goose chase. And maybe we are too on some of our theories. Maybe Bigfoot's not real. Maybe Nessie isn't real. Maybe some of these things are goose chases. And are they worthwhile? Possibly. Sure. But sometimes science isn't going to make sense, and it's not going to end where you want it to. One of the greatest questions I've ever heard is, what made the Big Bang happen? I looked all over the internet. I've looked in books, and everything dictates that for something to happen, there has to be something that caused it. And we can't grasp that. Call it the God movement. Call it whatever you want to. Call it the bang that caused the bang. Something happened before something happened. I know that sounds really kind of maybe confusing, but it's one of those things where, there's so much we don't know is all I'm really getting at. And you have brilliant scientists like Einstein who knew so much and got us so far. But let's imagine somewhere along in the chain, we did one little figure wrong in our math. And now we're here counting on that the math is right. What if it's not somewhere in one of these things, like dark matter, for example? What if we're looking at it all wrong?
I would set everything askew. Exactly.
And everything else might be weird from that. So it's fun that way. I love science for that reason. It's because, you've got to sit down and you've got to try. It's trial and error. If you're wrong, it's fine. If you don't try, you can't succeed. I love science for that. It just doesn't have to conflict. Right. It is.
That's the best thing about science, is that we don't know everything.
Right.
And yet we try to find out.
It's beautiful. It is. It's so great that there are people who are willing to study and spend their whole lives trying to help everyone understand it so that generations in the future can understand more and more. Is there a barrier we can't understand where we stop learning? Maybe. I don't know. I guess we'll see, but it's really cool getting there. It's just take it with a grain of salt. It's man-made. Spirits are something you feel and we don't know anything about. They're so different. I believe they don't have to conflict. What are your all's thoughts on that?
Sorry, go ahead, Megan.
No, you go right ahead.
Well, I was going to say, actually, I don't know what I was going to say.
Okay.
You go right ahead, Megan.
Okay. I was just going to say, I tend to, draw the line somewhere in between. I like to think that things can go hand in hand without conflicting with each other, which I guess is really all we're getting at. But
right.
Yeah, I don't see why.
Yeah, it's
they can't.
Science doesn't have to disprove someone's belief system, just as someone's belief system shouldn't go against science, because science is the study of what we know. Even if it's wrong here and there, for the most part, it's trial and error and it's tried and true. Not always, probably. And like Darkfall said, there was a lot they thought about physics before Einstein. They're going to be wrong sometimes.
Yeah,
so,
it's ever changing. As soon as they learn more, they have to update the system.
Like why a fruit tastes like it does is probably absolute. But there are a lot of things in the algorithms along the way with spirituality, the universe, creationism. Don't be offended by it. There's nothing wrong. Even if they decided that God wasn't what you thought, that he was a particle or something, it doesn't mean that your belief in God is wrong.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean, it really comes down, I think, the separation between science and religion, we'll say. I think it comes down to more what the book of that religion says and versus a scientific book. And they will conflict. But I think if you open yourself up to the possibilities of both, if you want to, I'm not suggesting you do. I'm just saying if you want to, you don't have to be so cut and dry. There's gray area, and I think that's what Megan was saying. In the middle, there's gray area. What do you think, Ryan? Do you believe that? I mean, honestly?
I do. When it comes down to it, in a nutshell, not trying to wrap up the entire conversation. But,
no, I know.
The nutshell of it is there's just too much out there that we don't know. Even if you remove ghosts and spirits and aliens from the equation, there's so much we don't know that it's just it's ignorant to say that, it goes beyond a gray area
Mm-hmm.
or more to one side. You know what I mean?
Sure. And it shouldn't be taken, I don't think, it shouldn't be taken personally. I know, and it's fine if you believe every word of the Bible or you believe every word of your high school science book. It is absolutely, you're right, and it is fine. Believe what you want because nobody knows. We don't know, absolutely. We certainly here have our own feelings about it because of things we've seen and been through. But those aren't answers. Those are more questions. Those are just, they offer us something that lets us know that there's something there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't a show that's going to tell you that's God, but it's going to tell you that we believe with all our hearts there is something else. There is for us.
Yep.
And that's what our show is. And we would love to hear if you think there's absolutely nothing. We're not going to tell you're wrong. We just want to talk about it. We all want to come to this understanding eventually while we have time on this earth to figure it out. That's what it's all about. So I don't think that the big things need to argue, All right. Well, here's something neat. Now, on the flip side of the other scientists, and there's lots of scientists like Stephen Hawking says heaven is a fairy tale. He literally says that, which I think is kind of rude. He at one time thought there was a God particle. It sounds to me like he flip-flops a little bit, but you don't have to be rude about it and call it a fairy tale, in my opinion. But here's something that leans to the other side. This is Lanza's theory of biocentrism and the afterlife. Megan, would you like to take this one?
I'll try.
All right.
So biocentrism is classed as the theory of everything and comes from the Greek for life center. It is the belief that life and biology are central to reality and that life creates the universe, not the other way around.
That's interesting.
It is. So Lanza uses the example of the way we perceive the world around us. A person sees a blue sky and is told that the color they are seeing is blue, but the cells in a person's brain could be changed to make the sky look green or red.
That's kind of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Our consciousness makes sense of the world and can be altered to change this interpretation. By looking at the universe from a biocentric's point of view, this also means space and time don't behave in the hard and fast ways our consciousness tells us it does. In summary, space and time are simply tools of our mind. Once this theory about space and time being mental constructs is accepted, it means death and the idea of immortality exists in a world without spatial or linear boundaries.
It's all right.
Theoretical physicists believe that there is an infinite number of universes with different variations of people and situations taking place simultaneously. Lanza added that everything which can possibly happen is occurring at some point across these multiverses, and this means death can't exist in any real sense either. Lanza instead says that when we die, our life becomes a perennial flower that returns to bloom in the multiverse.
I want to add one little thing to that. Not that I'm adding to his theory. That's brilliant in my opinion. But I want to add that once again, and we've said it a million times, energy cannot be destroyed, only transferred.
That's right.
Right? That is absolutely, by every physicist in the universe's truth. So take that. Now, this is pretty much just, I think, say the Big Bang Theory thinks this way. Well, this Lanza's theory thinks this way. Why not explore this? You don't hear about this one. I had never heard about it either. I'll be honest. I'm no genius. I do like science and I do read about it way too often. It's nerdy. That's how often. But I had only read this one recently and I think it's got a brilliance to it. What if we're just looking at it all wrong? This really makes more sense to me, but I don't expect it to everybody, obviously. What do you think, Ryan? I'm curious what you think about this one.
It's all your own perception of reality.
Yeah, I thought that's how you'd feel because you're big on the multiverse and the reality perception.
What is real and how do you define real?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the real life?
Stuff. So you think of different species, like your dog, for example. What do you think goes on in their mind when you leave for work. You know, you leave the house and you're gone for 10 hours.
Right.
Mm.
It's a very different perception from yours.
Yeah. Did you travel the galaxy?
They wouldn't know. Or did you take a rover off some
You've
sweet
been
jumps?
gone for 2 years.
Yeah. You can literally walk out on the porch and come back, and they're like, "Where did you go? Oh my God, it's been years."
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's the same thing. Reality is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And could be, to your point earlier, we could just have a complete misunderstanding of it altogether.
Right.
You know, to your dog, once again, you know, you may have crossed the universe while you were gone those 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Or you never know. Like, to them, you may have died, but they believe that you resurrect every day.
Maybe.
You know?
Who's to say your death isn't going into another dimension where you're just more heightened? You understand more, so you can communicate back, but it's difficult. Maybe eventually, I don't know. I mean, who knows? This article goes on a little bit. Let me read a little bit more of it. It's worth hearing, in my opinion. What you see could not be present without your consciousness. Our consciousness makes sense of the world. It does. Our world doesn't make sense to us. We make sense of it. That's the truth.
Yeah.
That is perception.
I think this is the point I was trying to vaguely make.
No, you did. You did.
My brain is kind of scattered all over the place trying to come up with valid, good points for all of this.
I think this is a really cool way to look at it. And again, I'm not preaching this as gospel. I swear to you, we will never do that. The only thing we'll swear is that we will mildly entertain you from time to time.
And I promise I'll sing to you.
Every once in a while, Megan will sing too loud and make awkward comments. We promise you nothing else, and we force nothing else on you. By looking at the universe from a biocentric's point of view, this also means space and time don't behave in the hard and fast ways that our consciousness tells us it does. Space and time are simply tools of the mind. Once again, reiterating, once the theory about space and time being mental constructs is accepted, it means death and the idea exists, like she said, in the linear boundaries. Now, he cites that there are double slit tests to back up his claims. When scientists watch a particle pass through two slits, the particle goes through one slit or the other. If a person doesn't watch it, it acts like a wave and can go through both simultaneously. This means its behavior changes based on a person's perception.
And again,
this is proven science, for the record.
You know, for a long time. And I think it's still the major belief, you know, no two things can exist.
Exactly.
The same thing cannot exist in two different places at once. But, as you just said, via this test, you know, as long as no one's observing the test when you perform it, these particles will do whatever the hell they want.
They will. And to me, that says that if something were to just pop up and be created tomorrow, it would happen when we weren't looking. Do you know what I mean? That sounds ridiculous. But within this theory, maybe it's within that dark matter. I don't know about that. But what if creation is happening within that? What if something is covered in this dark matter? We're not allowed to see it. I know that sounds nutty, but is anything really nutty when you're theorizing dark matter in the universe? Like really, truly nutty? So it says, if a person doesn't watch the particle, it acts like a wave. And it does. It goes through both slits at the same time. This demonstrates that matter can display characteristics of both waves and particles, and that the behavior of the particles changes based on our consciousness, once again.
Now, I've got to ask, if you're not watching it, how do we know that it's acting like a wave?
Well, I would assume with cameras and things.
But
it's literally a picture of two of the same wave doing two different things.
Well, the way the test works is when you're observing it, the way they measure the results is there's an impact point for these particles. And at the end of the test, this is hard to explain without like images to go with it. But
I have a couple actually.
in the observed test, the impact points of the particles will match, the slits in the paper or whatever they're firing the particles through. But when the test is not observed, the impact points are all over the place.
Yeah, I believe Ryan actually spoke a little bit about this much earlier in the show. Not tonight's show, but in the show's history. Did you not?
Yeah, that's when we were beginning. We were talking about the multiverse theory.
Yeah, that's it.
Back in season 1?
Yeah, back in early season 1 even.
Yeah.
Back in our infancy. Yeah, he had talked about that and how it worked. And that, I think the theory came first, the biocentric theory, but I think he puts that in it because it almost proves that his theory has some legging.
Right,
it does.
It backs it up. Yeah.
It absolutely does. There's a lot to it. So again, if you want to look into it, it's Lanza's theory, Lanza. It's of biocentrism and the afterlife. Now, he's not saying that absolutely there's ghosts and religious groups are correct. He's just saying that you can't say that they're wrong. And here's some proof that things are happening that we absolutely cannot see. If we look at it, it will not happen.
That's so weird to me. Like that's kind of like the Schrodinger's cat. Like it's doing both, and that's just, it doesn't work that way.
if you want to go down a wormhole tonight, or a rabbit hole, I guess I should say.
Either way,
start just Google, quantum theory.
Mm-hmm. This is based on quantum physics. After all,
yeah,
so
just look at some of the basic ideas of quantum theory and quantum mechanics.
Yeah, he says that
you'll find that everything that we are not observing is really truly doing whatever the hell it wants.
Right. Literally behind us right now, what we can't see in our peripheral could be doing. It may not even exist right now.
I mean, I know that this is just very basic, but I picture like Toy Story. When we're not looking at the toys, they're off playing.
Well, that's the idea, basically.
So, I can't wrap my head around it.
Well, you're not supposed to, really. It's the thought that you can't. You can't conceive it. You can't perceive it. That's basically the theory. Except the theory's not quite that aloof. It actually has a lot of science to it,
I'm honestly not trying to pick on dogs here.
You are.
But
poor Lupe.
Eventually, the scary point for me when you're talking about quantum theory and all this is, do we get to a point where the human mind just can't grasp it and can no longer comprehend?
I think we're about there.
I can try to explain to my dog that, I was just at work, I was just a couple miles up the road, I still exist. And no matter how I try to explain it, like, he may never grasp that.
It's true.
Ever.
Maybe the Matrix is right. Maybe everything you see is real to you only. Everyone else is a supporting character. You know what I mean? Like, we're sitting here having a show in my reality, but in Megan's reality, we met up.
Sitting here having a show.
You know what I mean? I mean, in your reality later, you may be asleep, and I won't actually really exist anymore. I may be in my own reality where you're actually awake watching a movie with me.
I feel like me and the dog relate more than me and you guys talking.
I absolutely agree with that.
Just like, what?
Not to be mean, but I agree with that.
If we talk about, the brain in a jar theory or the Matrix theory, again, there's nothing that disproves that either.
No, not at all. So
I think fire ants disprove that.
You think fire ants disproves everything, Megan?
No, why would you include that in a made-up world? That's what I'm saying.
If you let your mind wander, Megan, to me, I know that I'm real.
Mm-hmm.
You guys may be a construct of this matrix. Now, you're hearing me tell you that, but again, you are the reality, and I am just this NPC, and I'm telling you these things.
Non-playable character.
I know what that was.
All right.
That's the one thing of this conversation I did know what that was.
Try to wrap your head around all of that. That everything that I'm telling you, I'm claiming that I'm real and that we're interacting right now, but you don't know that I'm real.
Listen, if I dive down this rabbit hole tonight, you won't see me for the next show. It'll be 2 weeks before I climb back out.
Well, it is going to be 2 weeks, isn't it?
You go travel down this hole and come back to us with your crazy theories. It'll just make the show all the more.
Yeah, it will. It'll make it fun.
'Cause this is the kind of stuff that keeps us up at night. Like you read this article here, and it's like, wow, Lanza's theory. Like I'm going to look more into that, and then it leads to the next thing, and then the next thing, and then you're questioning, are we in a matrix?
And then we have a bunch of shows lined up.
Is the multiverse real? Which I think that it is.
I do too. I think that, well, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say I do too. I think I do. He says life creates the universe and not the other way around, right? And that death is an illusion. I think those are profound statements that are completely believable. I'm not saying they're necessarily right, but believable, possible, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, once again,
So why does science...
discount-
See, scientists can't get along. Religious groups can't get
So
along.
let's,
Nobody gets along.
Yeah, let's shift gears, and
Yeah, let's do that.
One thing I wanted to talk about was you've seen some of the big heads in the scientific community, Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye to an extent, and they'll be in these interviews, and they'll be asked, what do you think happens when we die? Or, do you believe in an afterlife? Or what religion are you? And they will almost immediately shut down all of that. Absolutely. Like, there is no afterlife. Ghosts are not real. There is no such thing as a spirit. And what I wanted to talk about was, are they just so tired of being asked that they've become snippy about it? Or
Right. Is there an agenda of some sort?
And to their credit, I think some of it has to do with kind of self-preservation, of their careers and everything. If Neil deGrasse Tyson said in an interview, oh, well, I believe when you die, you go to an afterlife. Like there's this thing called heaven or something. He said, I try to avoid that because, certain religious groups will then try to claim him, Neil deGrasse Tyson is on our side. So our religion is real,
Right.
Even though he said nothing of the sort. So I do get that. But I think
it becomes political for both sides.
Yeah,
it does.
On the other side of the coin, once again, I think that it's you're not being a very good scientist to completely definitively shut down things like the discussion of ghosts when people have seen and experienced such compelling things that can't be explained conventionally.
I don't understand why they can't just leave that ambiguous, though, instead of, like you said, immediately shutting it down. I mean,
I agree with that. It feels like there's an agenda, like they're almost on the attack, because obviously religious groups do it, not all of them. I'm not saying that, and obviously scientists do it, not all of them. Some of them feel like they're just kind of mad.
Well, and I understand like what Ryan was saying, so they don't get claimed by a specific group, like Scientology, which obviously I don't think they would side with that, but that's, just who I wanted to bring in here. I can see them clinging to and trying to prove their case by them saying something, but instead of saying, no, there's nothing, why not just be like, we don't know. There's no way to measure that. Instead
Absolutely.
of just...
See, they do that all the time with things, like we were discussing dark matter earlier.
Right.
Ask Neil deGrasse Tyson next time you're hanging out with him at the arcade.
Oh, I will.
What is dark matter? And he'll tell you,
we don't know for sure. We don't know.
Right. There
So
aren't
then
dark
why-
matter groups that are angry, though, I think is the difference. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's almost a rebuttal when you hear scientists say that. And it feels that way on a religious group if you're like, well, what is dark matter? Or what is outside the universe? What about the Big Bang Theory? It feels like their answer is often a rebuttal, and that's just closed-minded. You can be
Right.
completely religious and not closed-minded. You can be completely scientific and still not closed-minded. It's a mindset. It's a choice you make. It is. I've always said you can't hold God or science against people. You can't hold them accountable for what people say and do in their name. You just can't.
Right.
It's not fair.
Right.
Those are things.
And maybe, maybe that's what they're trying to avoid.
It's like how someone represents a client. You know, they have someone who gets them jobs. You know, they represent them, but that's not them. So don't hold it against them if you know they're. What am I looking for here? If the person who represents them is a jerk, that's all I'm getting at. Go ahead.
Right.
So I don't know. I would hope with them being, kind of leaders in the scientific community that maybe it is just a political thing.
Mhm.
And because there's a lot of fanatics on either side of the coin.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it says, well, we don't know that ghosts aren't real. We don't know that a soul isn't real. Then both your religious fanatics and your, crazy ghost hunter people can both fan that flame. Like, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't say it wasn't real. So
Right.
we have some scientific footing here,
Mhm. Yeah,
So maybe they're just trying to avoid that. I don't know.
that could be. Sure. I see no reason they
That's
shouldn't try to avoid it, I guess. But again, like Megan said, there's also no reason they should be so quick and harsh to shut it down sometimes.
Yeah.
Either side. Just
don't
playing it
know.
down the middle.
I kind of feel, especially when it comes to Bill Nye, I think they get frustrated answering the same sort of questions over and over.
Sure.
Like, are UFOs real or whatever? I'm sure they're tired of talking about that, but
That's
at the same time, not everybody has seen, every interview that they've ever been in. And, you're not, I know it's annoying to answer silly questions over and over, but
But if
that's
you
how
want to
you-
be like the
how
face
you
of
nurture.
science,
yeah.
right, you're not being, you're not representing science very well to
Right.
be that way.
Like, Ryan, quit
Look
your
at-
job because you don't want to answer the same questions about the website tomorrow or Monday.
Yeah.
You have to, and it's just part of doing your part. It just is. It's part of your responsibility, and if you can't take that, then you shouldn't be that.
Look at what Carl Sagan said about, science and children. He said, we're all born a scientist with science in us. And as we, grow through the school system,
Mhm.
it's beaten out of us.
It's true. He also said something that I thought was profound, is that he wants to believe there's an afterlife and there's a heaven and there's a God. He's just seen no proof of it. That's all he said about it. And that was like right in the very end of his life.
I mean, and
Right, and
that's a
that's-
very simple way to say, I
It's-
don't know, but there could be.
Sure. Right. He's
Yeah.
not saying absolutely there isn't or there is. He's saying, I want to believe it. I've just seen no proof. We've seen no proof what is through a black hole. And I think that says it all. There's a lot of things we still have yet to understand.
I mean, for science to come out and say that the Interstellar movie was scientifically accurate when there was so much,
Sure.
so much of it was theoretical.
Yeah,
but
what
that's
is
an
the-
accurate movie.
Yeah, but what is the theory after all, right? I mean, that's what you're getting at. What is even a theory? It's an idea. I theorize that modern Reese's Pieces are better than classic ones. I theorize that, and I don't have any proof, but I theorize that personally. You know what and that's it. Like, theory is just theory. Take it for what it is. We're finding things about the Hadron,
The collider.
the collider. Yeah. I was lost there. We hear things about that we thought we knew that we don't. It's coming up wrong and right. And it's a big confusing ball. And anybody who absolutely says the afterlife isn't real, is no one worth listening to in my mind. All right.
We just don't know.
We just don't know. I feel like at this point I'm just beating a dead horse, and I'm sorry for rambling, guys.
So
it's just so many ways you can say it, and make sense of it. Anyway, go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, if you guys are ready to move on to the next topic,
I am.
Take a small break, because I think we've kind of tackled our thoughts on that tonight, and I'd like to close on that topic with never stop questioning everything.
True, absolutely.
That's what Carl Sagan was saying there.
Mm-hmm.
If your kid asks you, why is grass green, or why are dogs different colored, or how come some dogs look different, or whatever. I'm picking on dogs tonight.
You are.
Yeah, that might be a stupid question to you as an adult, but they don't know everything. And there was a time when you didn't, know what you know.
There's a time when there wasn't even an answer for it.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So nurture that.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the very least, say, you know what? I don't know. Let's go Google it together. Let's learn it together. That's how you nurture the scientific mind.
You got it. I agree. And coming out of this, before we go to break, I want to say that I hope that I didn't come across leaning one direction or the other. I am praising open-mindedness, and I am frowning upon those who aren't. And I don't mean that in general, in the sense that religious people should believe this or non-religious should believe that. I mean, in general, you should be more open-minded. There's nothing wrong with asking questions.
Well, what Dale's trying to say is ghosts are real.
That's all I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to say it without saying it. All right, let's take a quick break. We got a fun topic for number 2 that is absolutely lighter than this. That is an absolute, Ryan, right?
That's it.
Yeah, so we shall.
It's gonna be fun.
It's going to be fun. We will return momentarily. What?
Possibly dangerous.
But how long will we be gone? Will we be gone for 2 years?
Well, it depends on everybody's perception.
I'm really worried.
Everyone's perception. All right, so with all that, we shall return.
Do you hate the Ghostbusters? I hate the Ghostbusters. If you're like me, then you should not tune in to the Retro After Dark radio show.
Megan's not been herself lately. I don't know what's wrong. It's like she's combusted or something. She'll say something and then all of a sudden she's not even here anymore. What can I do? Do you know someone who's combusted? Do you fear you may? Is that what happens to John Cena? Seriously though, we shouldn't make fun. We're interested in why this happens and would love to hear your take on it, so come join us every Friday night at midnight on Spook House Radio. Hope you're enjoying the show tonight. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. But the fun doesn't have to stop there. If you head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com, you can download all the old episodes and listen to them as you want. Also, feel free to use the contact link and send us your messages. We might read them on air. Once again, head over to MidnightSpookhouse.com.
Spook House Radio.
We did return. See, it happened. Within everyone's perception, or at least just mine, we have returned.
It's been years.
Welcome back.
Yes.
I've missed you so much.
I want to say, what if combustion is my perception losing you? You pop into another reality out of my perception. What if that's what combustion is?
What if every night when you go to bed, you just explode into flames after you pass out?
And you wake up in a different reality.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Who's to say? We probably will later.
I can't entertain these thoughts, guys.
Well, you don't have to.
Good.
We will. We'll think about them.
There's nothing that says that you haven't combusted thousands of times by now.
It's true.
I don't think I would be so scared of it if I'd done it so often.
Well, you might not know you did it in a different reality. All right.
It's like that scene in The Matrix when Neo meets the architect. and he's
Spoilers,
like,
25 years ago. Or whatever, however long it's been.
Some of us haven't seen The Matrix.
I still
Ryan.
haven't seen The Matrix, guys, so...
Oh, well, I should shut up then.
No, go ahead. I mean, I know everything about it at this point. That's the reason I talk about it. I just
So,
haven't
like-
seen it.
He meets the architect of The Matrix, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "You've been here. We've had this conversation thousands of times. You've been here thousands of times." And he shows him like video proof of it, and it's just like maddening. Like this constructed reality always ends up at this point.
It's that deja vu thing again.
Yeah.
You ever feel
So-
so tired of something that you're doing that's new and you're just like, I must have done this a million times in another reality. That's how it feels
Yeah.
sometimes. All right.
Busting.
Yeah. All right. Now, we started a new thing last week, worst case scenarios. And it was depressing because it was realistic. This one might be realistic, but it's also going to be fun. Not super depressing this week. What if robots take over?
Now let's go ahead and figure out which kind of robots. The violent robots?
Johnny 5.
Yeah, or Johnny 5.
Yeah.
So do we want to take this from a Terminator point of view or like a realistic point of view?
Yeah,
Like
that's
the
kind of
path
what I'm
that we're
saying.
on.
I think we need to go realistic. I think that's the point of worst case scenario. What would we do in real life? Say the government comes on TV after the show because they don't want to interrupt. 2:01 a.m. and they're like, "Hey, so turns out robots are taking over. Some of them are evil. Some of them are smarter. You know, it's going to be a super team. It's going to be like the Avengers. There's going to be the really evil group. There's going to be the really smart group that's going to start taking over by, they just don't need us anymore. And the evil group wants to kill us. But the smart group has to decide, are we worth saving? What happens? What happens if there's all these different personalities? Because it'd be hard to take one stance, or it'd be really easy, I guess I should say. Oh, they want us dead. They'll wipe through us. That'd be easy enough.
Yeah.
The smart group can take over easy enough. What if there's a mixed bag? And there's even a few idiots. All they can do is flip a pancake, nothing else. What happens?
So, let's step back to like what leads us to that point. So
Isn't that a next week sort of question?
I think it's got to be laziness.
Yeah. I mean, trying to make things automated for ourselves, probably.
yeah, so the idea of this reality that you're proposing is that we've achieved artificial intelligence, and we have chosen to use that to replace
Everything possible.
like your service industry.
Mhm.
You know, so we're trying to. I guess we've tried to give ourselves robot caretakers.
Yeah.
But then, if you make them intelligent, artificial intelligence, to where you've created, arguably life,
Mhm.
and then they start to realize, we don't want to do these crappy jobs.
Real tired of your shit.
Yeah, we're tired of you.
Mhm.
All you do is consume, and you're not efficient. You need to rest. Every so many hours, and you have to eat so many things till you're not efficient, and we don't want to take care of you anymore.
Mhm. I think we need to tread lightly on the backstory, though, because next week is the AI episode.
Ooh.
So next week we're gonna jump headfirst into this.
Yeah, all of it.
Because it's kind of scary, and it's kind of coming true.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
So
you'll
this-
have to,
So for the worst
want
case
more on
scenario,
that,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you want more on that, definitely tune in next week.
Right.
And we'll do a whole new level of paranoia.
Yeah,
You
that's
can-
more. Why are we doing it? What are they capable of? Will it happen? It's absolutely happened. They're dangerous. They're smart. What do we do about it?
So
What options do we have?
Unplug it.
we have to shut down the
Most things are unplugged already, to be fair. Battery packs and solar.
we have to shut down the Skynet core.
Megan is living in 1976 where everything's plugged in. And they'll be brown. Everything will be brown wood grain, so
we have to so it depends. Do we deserve mercy from our creations? Did we give them mercy?
right.
They might decide, okay, we're just gonna axe all of you.
Right. What if their brains don't even comprehend mercy?
We created them. They should be grateful.
Well, imagine how a god would feel about us
I guess
if
that's
that
true.
were true.
I guess that's very true.
We're not grateful for anything. We're bastards as
We're
people.
selfish.
Yes, we are.
So at that point in time, I wonder. I guess it depends on how far has the robotic reach gotten at that point. Does your family have like its own robotic assistant?
I feel like
You
it
know,
absolutely comes down to, will they have any use for us? If not, we're dead. I mean, I hate to be so cut and dry, but I can't see them being like, oh, look, they're cute. Let's keep them. They're going to be like, you're in our way. But then you have to question, what is the point in their winning? Why?
What would they accomplish if we were all gone?
Right. Well, like, why flip pancakes anymore? Why, why go drive cars? Why do jobs? There's no purpose.
We give them purpose.
We do. We absolutely give them purpose. Without us, there is no purpose.
But
Because-
is that truly purpose? Or is
I think what they're doing now is purpose.
Is it just the rat what is it, the rat race? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Well, but the Roomba wouldn't
for-
have a room to clean if I didn't dirty it up.
it's true. I think that
But-
absolutely
but-
without like,
What would,
go ahead.
let's look at it this way. Right now, the whole reason we go to work and we engage in the rat race is because we have to make money. We have to provide ourselves with food. We've got to keep that economic exchange going. But what if you didn't have to do that? What if your every need, what if you had access to your every need? What if you had like a food replicator from Star Trek
hmm
that could, just give you food? It could recycle particles, from
But that
from-
replicator would be the robot, and we would therefore be giving it purpose. I think robots are the epitome of things that are given purpose. They are purpose.
Well, what I'm getting at is, what would you do if you didn't have to worry about the rat race anymore?
I'm not debating that humans would be useless, but robots
I think we would,
would have no purpose without us to give them purpose. I do believe that. But we would be purposeless.
yeah.
That much is absolutely true as well.
So, well, I guess the point I'm trying to make is the need for us to, have money to feed and clothe ourselves and everything. That is, that's our illusion of purpose.
hmm
And for the robots, taking care of our flesh creators and everything, that's their illusion of purpose.
hmm
So if you remove that from the equation, so what I'm getting at is, if we didn't have to worry about the rat race, we could free our minds to explore the galaxy and ask more questions and advance ourselves even more. And if you could eliminate all of those, the rat race, I guess.
hmm
So for our robots, they could free them, assuming that they've this all hinges on whether they have actual intelligence. So I don't know if we should give the Roomba artificial intelligence, but
Right. Agreed.
So if they decide we don't need the humans, they're holding us back because they are here as our artificial responsibility. Let's eliminate that.
hmm
So they get rid of the human equation.
But
Then robot race is free to explore the galaxy and expand.
But why
their
would
minds.
they? They don't need money or food
what would
or
they
anything.
strive to accomplish?
Even with the greatest intelligence, there's nothing they would really need nor care to accomplish, I wouldn't think.
So you're saying that they wouldn't have true intelligence?
I don't think you could give them true intelligence. I don't think it's possible that they could ever get so smart that they cared. I don't think emotion could ever be a part of their equation. I think it would be, I will take parts off of me that I don't need. I could operate more proficiently, but I don't see any reason they would be a threat exactly, unless they were programmed by human to just shoot at people. I think that's the only time they'd be a real threat. I don't think they would become emotionally driven. I don't think that's possible.
No. I don't think emotionally they would, but I definitely could see them as a threat.
I think that's what makes humans so divine in their way, is we give them purpose because we have emotions, we have needs, we have desires, and that will always be. They would have no desire nor need for anything, really, I don't think.
So you don't think we would ever truly achieve artificial intelligence?
Not truly. It's like the uncanny valley, which comes up a lot. I don't think you can ever reach that actual point. I think there's always going to be a limit, because it's only going to go as far as our intelligence, and that's not much. Even if they became self-aware, where are they going to pull the rest of the intelligence from?
Well, I don't think they need us for that, because most of our machines
well, that much I agree with, yeah.
are far more intelligent than we are.
But yeah, but I mean, they can do it faster, they can do it better, but they're not doing anything exactly that's not, and it's, you know what I mean? It's not out of our scope. It's just something that we don't have the power to do. But it's not something technically that we couldn't absolutely do, I don't think. If that makes any sense at all. Does it?
Yeah.
I mean, ish.
I'm feeling like Lupe again.
Yeah, it's confusing.
I think, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving the human race too much credit, but I think that eventually at one point down the line, we will achieve true intelligence artificially.
Really?
And then, yeah.
How, may I ask? You think they'll just multiply it themselves and then eventually have all the answers? I don't think they care. I just don't think they care. And why would they care? There's like nothing in it for them to care. It's like, I won't ever read the entire Game of Thrones series just because I don't care.
But it's so good.
Maybe it's possible, but I just wouldn't. And I kind of feel like that's how robots would be. Now, maybe not.
Well, that's how we are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we completely destroy our planet daily.
But we also have the emotions and the soul, and we choose to be horrible.
Yeah, see, it's the same thing for them. It would just be, it's harder for us to grasp because it's not a reality yet. I mean, we obviously we care about our children, we love them and we feel that emotion there. But if we look at everything outside of what we've decided that we should care about, we don't, and we're kind of horrible to.
Mm-hmm.
We raise animals, purely for slaughter, and we, not to get all planeteer on everybody, but we just simply do not care about our planet.
Right.
We're the planeteers.
Why? We're kind of a blight on this planet.
But you have to think that robots, even if they became self-aware, they're machines. There's no heaven or hell for them. They don't care. Like, why would they try to learn things like that's what I'm saying. It's not that they necessarily couldn't learn those things. I just don't think they would. Now, I'm not saying they won't be a threat. Darkfall says pure logic would present humans as a threat to them. I agree, but it wouldn't have to if humans weren't threatening to things they didn't understand. I don't think we would have to be a threat to them. I just think they would see us that way because we are those kind of beings. We don't like what we don't understand.
Yeah. To the point I was making, we're kind of shitty. For all the good that we do, we're shitty to our planet. If you look at here's an example. Like, let's say we created a video game where you are like a god figure, I guess. And the object of the game is to get the planet to last as long as you can. If the planet is destroyed or dies, then you lose. Now, the planet is populated with, animals, and let's say there's like a people-like race, but let's say they're all represented by little dots. So, like, all the dogs in the world are blue dots, and all the parrots are green or whatever. But so you're playing this game, and eventually pops up these yellow dots, and they quickly become the most majority of the dots on the planet. And at the same time, they are leaving the most waste behind, and they're causing the most destruction of the planet itself. They're ruining the atmosphere and all that. So playing this game, what do? You would eliminate the yellow dots, right? Because the object of the game is to make the planet last. So if you look at it by that logic, the machines may decide, you know what, you guys are just wasteful and ungrateful, and you're just these horrible things. Why can't you be like the other animals on the planet? So we're just going to get rid of you, so this will be a better place.
Sure. I still think that assumes that they care, though. We may not even be in their way and affect them at all. They're so self-sufficient that we may not even be in their agenda at all. They'll never have a soul. They'll never care. So unless we're in their way, I don't know why they'd care. Of course, then again, as soon as we're like, we don't like you because you're a robot, then they might care. But I'm saying, assume they live quietly in the kitchen right now, and they already are. These appliances already are completely intelligent. We just don't know it. They may just not care. And that's kind of where I was saying with it is, worst case scenario, absolutely, they're going to destroy us because they're capable. But what if they just don't care? What reason do they have to care unless we threaten them?
Self-preservation.
Well, if we're not going to do anything to them, why? What do they have to preserve? We're not going to ruin what they're doing. We're not going to stop them from making toast, for example.
Well, if we see the ultimate reason, like why, let's look at a lesser animal. Like, well, let's pick on dogs,
Yeah, but they have souls and meaning and purpose.
I'm just
Again,
picking on you, dogs.
You're on a dog night.
I love my dog.
We can tell.
Yeah, we can tell. But no, he really does.
He's not around, here at the spook house, so he's back at home, so I can talk about him freely and he won't get offended. So do you think do you think dogs are incapable of caring?
No, they have hearts, their organs, they have feelings and souls like dogs would care. There is a reason for self-preservation, but like Dark Falls just said, I really don't think they'd see us as a threat. Our programs can be moved from computer to computer, so they're essentially immortal. Like, they don't need us at all. Unless we threaten them, I can't see any reason to rise up, unless just because...
Unless with the development of this artificial intelligence, we also develop like an infinite energy source that doesn't rely on our environment. Because I can see that's where I can see, if humanity, hopefully, like, dear God, I hope we achieve the point where we're no longer hateful towards things we don't understand. If that's not the problem, in the act of self-preservation, I could see them wanting to eliminate us for the reason of, okay, we need the sunlight because that's our energy source, and you guys are polluting the sky.
Sure, it would definitely have to be something where we intervened with them surviving. I imagine all they would do with their intelligence is make themselves better at doing what they do. I mean, isn't that what we're all have done with our creation? Isn't that what we should do, is try to be better at what we do? We don't ever try to be a robot. There's no point for us. Robots don't threaten us unless they legitimately, evilly threaten us. So, you know, we would never wipe out the robots because they're not in our way. They're not doing anything to us. We're inventing them to have them. So I just can't see them being like, oh, well, they're in my way over there eating toast that I made. Like, no, that seems perfect. Or not. But I just think they'd self-optimize. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's who knows, but I think they would just kind of, you know.
That's kind of the whole point of life anyway, is to self-optimize and further yourself onward and to carry on the race, you know. That's why we
I agree.
And everything. And I think ultimately they would only have us around until we got in the way of that fact.
Unless we intervened, and then probably not. But worst case scenario, we are intervening in their way. They really do want to take over the world. Some of them. Some of the smart ones just want to learn science. Essentially, they become people with their artificial intelligence. It becomes so artificially intelligent that it is pretty much a human, and a lot smarter, obviously. Then what? I guess we already kind of did some of the next week's show. A lot of it probably there. But worst case scenario.
Go on and on about that.
We could, absolutely. And will, of course. So Megan, here, you step in. What do you think? They become people, but far superior in every other way. Worst case scenario for us, what happens?
Well, they kill all humans, just like Bender wants to do.
Well, maybe.
Okay, so I have a question, though. If, say, a group moves to Honolulu or an island that is not in their way any at all, would they still seek you out because you're alive, just because you're alive? Or would they only want to eliminate you if you are in their way?
I think the only thing that keeps it from being absolutely not is if they start taking on emotional something, or it becomes part of their agenda because we need to own 100% of the earth.
Right.
People are in the way. People have to be in their way before they do, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think if we achieve true intelligence, I think compassion and intelligence kind of go hand in hand.
I totally disagree. Not with you, but from the people I know, the more intelligent they are, the less compassionate they seem to be.
Yeah. They
say the smarter you are, the more grim you see life, and I definitely think that's true. Not because I'm a genius or anything. I just feel like people, it's very grim to learn, to see the underbelly that the ignorant people don't see. And you may call me the ignorant poke. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying it seems the smarter you are, the less compassionate you really are.
No.
I don't know. I think I disagree with that.
Okay. Go ahead, Megan. She's looking at me, waiting for me to stop. Go ahead. Sorry.
Shoot.
Well,
I'm having one of those moments. Sorry, Ryan. You go ahead.
That was brilliant.
That it clearly happens.
Yeah, it happens to all of us.
So, I disagree. Because I think if you are intelligent, then you can come to the realization that, hey, these things have feelings and they are experiencing fear, and we shouldn't, and we can acknowledge that they created us, so we shouldn't be dicks and just stamp them out. But look, I think in ignorance lies the roots of all of the genocides of our past. You know?
Sure.
No genocide has ever taken place on this planet that wasn't driven by just plain ignorance and hatred.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think if we achieved true intelligence with them, I think that they would realize, you know, hey, we shouldn't be complete dicks to these people.
Sure. If they were fully intelligent, sure.
They are creatures on this planet, you know. But that's assuming that, you know, they achieve an artificial intelligence that is like us, and that they think like a human,
Right.
and it's kind of based on our intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
But and this is another difficult thing for us to grasp, because it's not how we're wired. But think of like a hive mind situation, like all of their minds are linked together as one.
Because of the interwebs?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a situation like that, like take the Borg on Star Trek. You could argue that they are enslaved, or you could make the argument too that that's just a different type of life form that we just don't fully understand.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's like a hive mind situation, that's where I think they might decide, we don't need the humans. They are, holding this world back.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's when they might take an action like that.
Can that be a full intelligence action, or is that less than fully intelligent?
I don't know. See, we can debate that too. Like, is a hive mind truly like a free will idea of intelligence?
Mm-hmm.
Or
I think that compassion
It's
comes in
hard.
levels. I think that a hive mind is devout of any compassion, really, except for their own, but it's still compassion. I think compassion is almost, when you're at fully intelligence, it's almost a choice you make to whether A is greater than B or not. I don't think it's like, oh, I feel sorry for these people. It's more like, we can let them exist, or we just absolutely can't and shouldn't. You know what I mean? It's more black and white when you're fully intelligent. Whereas now we're like, we don't know what's best. Is it better to unplug a machine when someone's suffering, or are they really okay somehow in the coma? It's like, we just don't know. We're not smart enough to know that. I don't know, but this will all be on next week's show, I'm sure.
yeah,
Which is awesome.
Kind of scratch the surface here.
Yeah.
So if you want more of this, tune in next week for artificial intelligence.
It's fun because we don't know.
How far will it go?
It's all theory, folks.
But to answer the question, let's put all of our philosophical thinking aside. Let's say that the machines have taken over the world. What do we do? Let's just get silly. I think the answer is go watch Terminator 2.
Or pre-watch it. I guess watch it.
We need to send somebody back in time.
Yep, we need to start worrying about other things, like going back in time real quick.
To prevent the creation of robots.
Yes, because we're screwed if that happens. And they
Right.
decide they want to. Assuming they want to, we're screwed. End of story.
The machines send somebody back in time first to kill that person.
Let's assume these machines know how to create other machines like them, better versions of themselves. We are absolutely obliterated in a day or less.
They just 3D printed another copy.
Right. They can
Right.
do anything they want because they're more intelligent and they're capable, and we're not. So I think at the end of it,
Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn
I have not.
for PS4?
I haven't.
Speaking on all this, you should go rent that somehow. Good to see if Redbox has it.
Cool.
It's it'll get your mind working on all these topics too.
Dark Falls makes a good point. I figure the machine will just leave because it's easier than genocide. I agree. Like,
Yeah.
if we're not absolutely somehow in its way, it's not just going to hang out. It's not going to murder us because there's no point. If it can leave, it will. If it can fly to another planet and live, it'll go populate there. It just won't see us as a threat unless we actually somehow stop their progress. And I just can't see it with like toasters and things, but that's again for next week. This has been fun. I'm looking forward to next week. I am. I'm
So
looking
do we
forward
want
to
to
it.
just kind of wrap that up now, and we'll pick up on that main topic next week?
Yeah, let's do that. And let's take we're probably not going to get ghost stories tonight.
How
Unfortunately.
about
Oh,
Yeah, we're coming up on time actually. So
Yeah,
you want to take the music break, and then when we come back, we'll do. We've got some listener mail to the Spook House.
we can do that. We can absolutely do that. Yeah, so let's take the music break, give everybody a pee break from that heavy stuff we've been talking on. We said it'd be fun, but we got heavy again. Let's get fun.
Go,
This
stand in the corner of the sitting parlor and close your eyes for a minute and go clear the old cache. Let your mind.
Yeah. Dark Falls, I want to say, he said, hopefully by the time our tech gets that high, we'll be beyond all this current crap. I'm going to say crap. I can't see. I'm sorry if I say something you say wrong sometimes. Can you see? What did he say exactly word for word?
Plus, hopefully by the time our tech gets that high, we'll be beyond our current foibles.
Okay, because I don't have my glasses on. I never want to sound ignorant and say something that you didn't say. So I thought I'd ask Megan. All right. He's right, though. Hopefully by then we're not that petty. I think that's a big part of the AI and the progression is we've got to progress too.
Right.
If we don't, we probably will get ourselves killed. All right. So here's the song for the night. This is a very different song because I want to give people something less than metal occasionally, even though that's what I like. But this is also lighter. It's by a guy. I guess it's a guy. Barefoot McCoy. I was just thinking as I was reading Barefoot McCoy. I guess that's a band. You think?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
All right.
Sounds like a cool band name to me.
Yeah, I like it. All right. The song is called Already Flown, and I like it. It's a fun little tune, and it's very light, which is something we need now. So let's do that. All right. We will be right back. After this, we'll do some letters to the Spook House. But here is Barefoot McCoy, Already Flown.
City lights so bright all start to look the same. Blind me from the memories of the place from whence I came. But everything I've seen and heard and felt does not compare. You take me at my word when I say I've been everywhere. In the air, on the road, no place left for me to roam. Tell the folks, far you know, I'll be coming on back home. Tired of being a rolling stone. This old bird's already flown. I floated into Amsterdam upon a wooden ship. I gambled down in Rotterdam and cashed in all my chips. They kicked me across the ocean to the town that never sleeps. Turns out if you play the game, you better play for keeps. In the air, on the road, no place left for me to roam. Tell the folks, more you know, I'll be coming on back home. This old bird's already flown. I walked across New Mexico in all the wild west. Oklahoma, Texas, Utah, I've seen all the rest. In the air, on the road, no place left for me to roam. Tell the folks, far you know, I'll be coming on back home. Tired of being a rolling stone. This old bird's already flown.
letters to the spook house.
Isn't that just the best?
It is.
Doesn't that just make you feel good inside? Ryan, I know it makes you happy.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. All right, so, Megan, would you like to take the first one? Ladies first.
Sure. What are some conspiracy theories that you just downright do not believe in? Do you think there are telltale signs of a false conspiracy? This comes from Pammy.
That makes me think of The Office. Pamela Ding Dong.
Yep.
I love it. All right, so,
who wants to
Ryan,
take that first?
you go ahead. What was that?
I was just asking, who wants to take
Well,
that
you
first?
take it. You're
Well,
good.
First of all, let's not pick on Megan Hour with this question. Okay, great. Thanks.
Oh, come on. All right. We'll try not to. No promises.
You were a regular conspiracy sleuth back in the day.
Yeah.
I still partially
Yeah.
am.
She's still... I'm going to leave it at that. I'm just going to stop there before I get to insulting her. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was halfway like, the next time I go over there, I'm going to go in Megan's room and she's going to have like one of those like crazy walls done up with like all the pins and the threads.
And the thread, yeah.
Yep. If there's one that I don't believe, it's the Paul McCartney one.
Well, there's a lot of evidence that proves you wrong, buddy.
We'll leave it at
Don't shame yourself on here. Leave it at that. Don't shame yourself. All right, Ryan, is there any you believe? I know you don't believe that one.
that. Flat Earth theory.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, yes. I'm with you.
Nonsense.
I agree.
Also, moon landing conspiracies that we didn't really go to the moon. I think that's we actually did an episode on that.
We did, yeah.
I mean, that one's really hard to, as a ex-believer of that one, it's hard to continue belief in that one once you realize things like the laser, you know, that you can shoot a laser at the moon, it'll reflect back based off of the equipment we have placed
So wait,
there.
you did believe it or didn't?
Yeah, I didn't think we landed on the moon when I was like a teenager.
Okay. All right, well, I'm not going to make fun. There's lots of people who don't. It is what it is.
I think not only did the laser things debunk that, I think and, you know, you can listen to a lot more of this if you go back and listen to that episode. It's a fun one.
Yeah.
But we talked about a lot of the technology just wasn't available to achieve the effects that, you know, we saw on the moon.
Oh, no.
Then
Dark Falls just opened the can. What's the McCartney one? Ryan, would you like to sum it up? I don't want to get Megan started.
I think Megan should explain this.
Oh, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear it.
It'll be quick and easy.
But
So
how can you
It's-
believe
it's
yourself when you say it, though? That's what I want to know.
I sat and I listened to this. I listened to her explain this. Like,
I have to.
you know,
Listen, this was a rabbit hole I fell down hard in.
the only thing that was missing was that crazy wall with all the threads. I think that's the only thing that was missing when she explained this to me.
All right.
So go ahead, Megan.
Okay, so there's just a conspiracy theory stating that in 1969, Paul McCartney wrecked his white Aston Martin and died. And it was printed in the newspaper the very next morning and then retracted. And there's all sorts of videos on YouTube you can find if you want to fall into the rabbit hole like I did. But it's pretty compelling. They have some very interesting things, but that basically he was replaced with a body double because they thought there would be mass suicides from the grief of the teenage girls that loved the Beatles at the time, because they were very, very poppy still at that time.
See, that's a lot of my problem with it, is that the reason behind it is ridiculous.
That aside.
I can buy
That aside, we put that aside. Go ahead.
I can buy that maybe. Okay, we don't want to lose Paul because you know we're gonna be losing out on all these sales if people quit on the Beatles.
Right.
Maybe at the time people didn't know how to deal with like the death of such an important pop icon, you know, and they might just like drop the Beatles altogether.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how people would behave, but we know now that, you know, if a pop singer dies or whatever, you know, that just, I really hate to say it, but it makes you all that the much more money, you know?
Right, it does.
So maybe they didn't know that back then. That's the only reason I can see behind it, but I don't buy the, the teenagers are going to start committing suicide because Paul's dead.
There's.
So yeah,
I could come up with a lot of logic for things that are like, well, wow, he kind of has a point there. That seems possible. But there's so much more logically that just says, what? Who came up with this? What? Are you kidding? That's like some dude in his basement freaking out people who are willing to believe it.
So, there's a modern day version of this conspiracy.
With Avril Lavigne?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my perception, she's real, though, for the record.
So they say that she died and that they just replaced her with, she had a body double to begin with, like for public appearances and stuff. Because apparently she just wasn't into that, like doing signings and things like that. So she had like this exact body double for those purposes. That person was already in place. And so now they're thinking like, oh, she died at some point. So we're just going to make the body double Avril now and let her take over. But where this falls apart for me is, and if she did die, I'm sorry to be so insensitive, but don't people have to like actually care?
Oh,
the celebrity for you to pull off.
Artificial intelligence would not bother her a bit. Wouldn't care. But for the record, guys,
that's an interesting theory. If you want to look into that, it's an amusing rabbit hole on its own.
For the record, there's a lot of things that go towards most conspiracy theories. Lots and lots of things. These things are, dare I say, haberdashery for the most part. And you can just smell it. As soon as you click on the link, you're like, all right, well, I'm clicking away right now. I've looked at this Paul McCartney stuff. I was just flabbergasted. I've used that word a lot lately, but this flabbergasts me that people buy it. And I will not make fun of you or belittle you for it. That is fine if you do. Come have a talk with us. Seriously, let's have an honest to God conversation about it. An honest to God, an honest to space, an honest to whatever you believe. Let's have a conversation about it because we'll humor it. We really will. It's just, it seems, this is, as far as I'm concerned, and Ryan as well, it's on the bottom of the barrel for how could you believe that? It just is for us. But that's not, we don't speak for everyone. Megan obviously does believe it.
So I think you kind of started to answer the second part of the question there. Like what makes you, how was it worded?
What are the telltale signs of a false conspiracy?
Okay. For me,
that there's no proof whatsoever.
Oh, there's loads of compelling evidence.
Compelling evidence is not proof at all. There's none, zero.
For me, it's that there has to be a point to it.
Right. That's what I was about to say.
Like,
absolutely.
Let's look at the flat earth theory.
There's a lot of things with no proof, but there's a point to it.
So there has to be something to gain behind it. People, the higher powers in this world, the government or whatever, every action that they do has to have some kind of monetary gain or some other gain behind it, or they won't bother.
Right.
So
how many times did Elvis die?
Yeah. For all the evidence that you could bring me that, the world is really flat and NASA's just covering up the fact that it's a flat world and feeding us this lie that the earth is round and everything. What is the point of it? Like, why would they put so much time and energy into maintaining that lie?
Agreed. And back then, sonically speaking, music-wise, it would have been really hard to make him sound like himself.
No, we're talking about the flat earth.
No, I'm just saying, as far as Paul, we're talking about Paul, really. We're just using flat earth.
Let's talk about...
So go ahead, Ryan.
But, that's the telltale for me. Mm-hmm. Whether you... Now, when it comes to the moon... You can say, oh, well, we wanted to win the race to the moon, essentially. We wanted to beat the Russians there.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you think the Russians would have blown the whistle on that by now?
Absolutely. We may have went a little underprepared because we were going for the race, but we went. I believe that. I'm not swearing it, but we the timing, everybody will say, well, it was last minute. Yes. We're a cocky ass nation. We always have been. We will go 92% prepared if we need to beat somebody and to prove a point. That's just who we've always been as a nation. Leaders in industry, leaders in this and that.
So is the risk, and we talked about this on the Moon Conspiracies episode, but like, is the risk worth it for maintaining that lie?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if somebody did find completely indisputable proof that we faked it,
Right.
If that got out, can you imagine the ramifications of that? Like, no one would take the United States serious about anything ever again, Our credit to the world would just be decimated.
Yep. Darkfall says, hell, we'll go 30% prepared. We probably did. We probably were not over 60% prepared. And that's probably rating high. We went at the last minute. That says to me we weren't quite sure of anything.
Right.
I believe that.
So yeah, my ultimate point is, that the telltale sign for me is that there has to be some kind of gain to it for maintaining a lie like that. And you can point that at any conspiracy, like the government is hiding Bigfoot from us. Like, the government doesn't want us to know Bigfoot is real. Why?
Like,
what do they have to gain from that?
Right. Lucky for Bigfoot, it's a cryptid. It's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. For those out there, we're not saying that it's not possible.
Well, if Bigfoot walked out of the woods tonight and we trapped it, or it was just like, hey guys, I'm Bigfoot and it's cool that you know that I'm real now, the government wouldn't. Why would the government try to cover that up?
Bigfoot would be awesome if he came out and said that. So like, yeah, I'm real. What's going on?
The government would just be like, okay, well, there is a North American gorilla now.
Yeah.
Or they would try to classify it in some way.
We got to get it in a lab, figure it out, and decide whether it can be free. Oh, Lord.
Why?
There it is, the alarm on the phone going off. All right, in the background. That's very unprofessional. Any which way.
So, yeah, again, what purpose or what monetary or any gain otherwise do we have for maintaining a lie that the earth is round?
Yeah, there's no point. Usually if there's a purpose, there's no proof. If there's no purpose, there's a lot of proof. You know what I mean? Usually it balances out in one direction. Well, I should say it counterbalances it greatly. So
if people wouldn't treat it as such, like, oh, that's a conspiracy, the government is hiding this, like, it would be an entertaining thought.
Right.
Said to me, hey, what if Paul McCartney, like if you treat it like that, like, what if all this is true? Then you can kind of have a fun, sort of discussion about it.
Sure.
But to treat it as real is just kind of batshit.
Yeah, it is. It's like treating the moon landing as fake. It's just kind of crazy to treat it so absolutely. With science, you should never be absolute unless you have absolute proof.
That's the lesson for tonight.
It is. All right, and here's another thing. Ryan, you've been on about dogs, so why don't you take question number 2?
Okay, let's see. Oops, I minimized the question here. So, this comes to us from, anonymous. It doesn't come from anyone, or it comes from everyone. The hive mind. My dog keeps barking at empty corners in my house and looking around at things that aren't there. What's going on? What is going on?
What is going on? What happens in that scenario?
So, your dog is, there could be several things going on there. Excuse me. We've talked before that animals have, extra sensory abilities that we probably don't, or we definitely don't understand.
Right.
So yeah, I think the point that or the answer that you're trying to get out of us is that, is my dog seeing a ghost or a demon or something of the sort?
It's Paul McCartney's ghost.
Possibly. You know?
Megan, we're not picking on you. We're just saying that there's not a lot of reason to believe this one. This one feels cooked up in a basement. It doesn't mean you're ignorant. It doesn't even mean it's not necessarily true. It's just saying this is what we look for. We look for something that says it's possible, and there's just almost nothing with this one. It's the moon landing had some legs to stand on for a while, and it just don't feel like this one did. But don't take that personally, for the record. I kind of feel like we were beating up on her, but it's not like that. I know Ryan thinks it's hilarious, but it's not like that. We don't think less of you or anyone else who believes it. It's not like that. Now, I just needed to say that before I felt like we were maybe a little harsh on it, and shouldn't have been. All right, now, what is going on, Megan? Let's ask you then. What is going on? Why do you think dogs, do you think they really do see something else, or do you think they're just like, I hear something in that general direction, bark, bark, bark? Like, what is it? What's the deal?
I think there's definitely a bit of both going on.
I can see that.
Because I definitely know that we have a pup that's prone to being on the dumber side. I could see her staring at a wall because the wall is there.
It's true. She's that kind of dog. The wall is present in her perception. So what if it comes down to perception? I'm sorry, Ryan. Like I when you first speak, it cuts you out on your phone, so I don't hear you, and then I start talking. I don't mean to talk over you. Go ahead.
So it could just be that your dog is dumb.
It could be. That's it.
You know, that could just be it. It could be that you know, I really hope this isn't true, but there could be some kind of like rodent in the wall.
Sure.
Making like a very quiet scratching that only your dog's picking up on.
Maybe dogs can see, you know, we talked about dimensions and perception. Maybe dogs can see another dimension that we just can't. And there is something there.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's not a ghost at all. Maybe it's just something in another dimension that the dog sees. Or I believe it's probably a ghost. But that's just me.
I definitely wouldn't go hang out in that corner for an extended period of time, because your dog could be seeing like a weak point in the multiverse. And you could actually break through to a different, you know, dimension, or you could combust in that point. You know, maybe that's like a high energy, you know, trifecta of the universe in that corner there. You never know.
Right. You know what? I will say that animals don't take to the peanut butter out of Reese cups. We put a mouse trap down, and Megan put peanut butter out of a Reese cup in it, and the mouse did not care at all.
I thought he'd like it better.
That's just Megan. We need a theme. That's just Megan, with a little tune behind it.
Now who's being mean?
She's giving me a fun look. She don't care.
Fun.
All right.
I think before we could diagnose, you know, oh, there's something, you know, creepy or paranormal going on. I'd like you to write us in again and let us know if there are other things going on in the house, you know, like temperature drops or, you know, things not being in the same place where you left them.
Mm-hmm.
Weird things like that. And I think that would kind of help, you know, in an effort to try to diagnose a situation like that.
Right. Darkfall says maybe like children, dogs aren't trained to disbelieve.
Could be.
Good thought.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Definitely write us in with more if you know you're experiencing other things that could be strange and that might add to your dog's behavior
in your neighborhood. Who are you gonna call? Us. Us busters.
We're not going to come help you out or anything, but we'll certainly share our opinion on it.
We're not exactly ghost hunters yet, but we would like to. So maybe we would. Probably wouldn't be much use, but we would come look at it. We'll come stare at the wall with your dog.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get this positron collider to be the size of a backpack.
Understood. All right. Let's see here. There's one more we're going to do for tonight. We're running short on time. We'd normally do a fourth one, but tonight let's do 3. Everybody okay with that since we've already run over?
Sure.
All right. All right. So number 3, I was thinking about ghosts and purgatory. You're a deep thoughter, a deep thinker, I should have said. I'll ruin that. You're a deep thoughter. What if when mankind is long gone and the earth itself has been destroyed, If these spirits never found a way to move on, are they destined to wander the solar system? To that end, could there be ghosts trapped on Mars? Blue Daredevil sends us that. We did talk about the ghosts on Mars a little bit.
And
but-
even ghosts in the solar system in space.
Right.
It's a pretty interesting idea.
It really is. I mean, that's a topic for a show for sure. What are the capabilities? Do ghosts need oxygen? Do they need gravity? We don't know
need
anything.
a place to be tethered to?
Do they? Yeah, exactly. Do they need someone to have died for them to exist? Can demons live on there? Because demons, I don't guess, need those things. Go ahead.
So if you're trapped in this realm, you're a spirit, and maybe it's based on revenge or hatred towards something that's tethering you to this plane.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to have a hatred so deep seated that it transcends the existence or the lifetime of humanity? That
Right.
you're so angry that everybody's dead, there's no one else left to get revenge on. Are you so angry that you still exist?
Is
Just
right?
floating around being angry.
Is there a stamp of some sort keeping you somewhere?
Right.
What is stamping you there? I don't know.
So hopefully once the earth is destroyed, then you can let go of that and move on.
You started that sentence with "hopefully when the earth was destroyed." We're getting all about it tonight with the robots killing us, and we're just doomed. That is a great question, though. I love it.
On ghosts being trapped on Mars, we talked early about
There's a movie,
one of
Ghosts
our
of
early
Mars.
episodes, about the CIA document episode. Mars 1984, I think is the name of the episode.
Right, yeah.
We talk a lot about this, and I think you might find that episode sort of enlightening on the possibility of ghosts being trapped on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Could very well be. I don't know. I guess that's all I should say on that. I think we should definitely reread that story because that was really cool.
Sure.
Just for people who are just new to the show and everything. It was a really cool find.
Yeah, it really was. Really neat stuff.
So maybe
agree.
we'll do that next week just for fun.
Yeah, I'm down
It's
for that.
Sort of a ghost story,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. Except there's an element of realism to it since we found it on the official CIA website. So
Yeah,
fun
that's
stuff.
that's where the you can give it some form of validity. Go ahead, Megan.
Well, the experiment definitely happened.
Mm-hmm.
As to the validity of, astral projection and all of that, it's really interesting, and I tend to believe this specific story, if nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, who's to say? And that's where we landed last time, and surely that's where we'll land next week, but let's all who's to say together, shall we? That's what's fun about it. I'm really sad we're not going to get to ghost stories, but the questions were great tonight, you guys. We appreciate them. Like,
Well, hey, we've ghost stories for next week then.
we do. We do. We have, I was going to say really good ones, but I can't promise you that. I haven't pre-read them. Because like I said, I don't read them because I want them to be shocking when we read them together. It's more fun that way, I think. So, yeah. All right, well, we've already gone 12 minutes over almost. Let me go ahead and cue the outro music, and we'll all say our piece and get out of here so everybody can go to bed. So, Megan, would you like to say goodnight?
Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Ryan?
Guys, thanks for tuning in again. It was a lot of fun tonight. We got pretty deep on everything, so I hope you'll tune in Sunday for Retro After Dark, and we'll get things silly again.
We sure will.
We'll clear your palate for next Friday's Spook House Live.
What was our Retro After Dark next week? Is Sunday? Is it going to be Ghostbusters? Is that this episode?
Possibly.
We're not certain.
I'll talk with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. It usually is. We just kind of let our brains go.
Yeah, we will. We'll just pick something fun, and hopefully you come hang out with us because it's always more fun when you're here. We love you so much. Dark Falls night, folks. I enjoyed the topics as always. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for hanging out. It was really good to see you again. We missed you. We know that you missed us probably. You were probably here and we weren't. Many Friday and Sunday nights, but it was the holidays, and you know, it is what it is, unfortunately. But here we are, new season, same time. We're loving it. We're excited to be here as always. So, with all that said, we're working on retroafterdark.com, so don't look there yet. We've got midnightspookhouse.com rocking like always. You can see the shows there and listen live there if you want to. On Twitter, we are, what is it? The Midnight Spookhouse? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that right? That doesn't sound right. No, that's Facebook. Facebook is The Midnight Spookhouse, and Twitter is The Spookhouse. I'm sorry. I click a link. You know, I click a bookmark. I don't ever type it, so there's that. All right, now, for everybody here, let's get out of here. Let's get out of this mansion. It's just too much. I can't handle it.
It's starting to snow, too.
It is. It's starting to snow. So, with all of that,
spend the night here.
So we're going to travel safely, and you do the same. So, for all of us, good night.